What if you could walk through chaos and feel absolutely nothing? Not numb, not cold, just calm, unmoved, steady. Imagine that power. The world throwing storms at you, people testing your limits, life shaking everything you thought was stable, and you, still breathing slow, still thinking clear, still walking forward like none of it ever touched you. That kind of calm isn't weakness, it's not detachment, it's strength in its purest form. And most people will never taste it, because they're too busy reacting to everything around them. But you don't have to live that way. Every single day the world gives you a choice: react or remain grounded. Let things get under your skin, or let them slide off like rain. Most people live in survival mode. They explode when disrespected, break down when life gets unfair, argue to defend themselves. But deep down they know, it's draining. It's exhausting to be controlled by everything and everyone. The real power? That's in the silence, that's in the stillness. That's in being so connected to who you are, that nothing from the outside has the power to shake what's within. Think about how much energy you've lost to things that didn't deserve your reaction. Arguments that changed nothing, insults that were just noise, doubts that never came true, fear that paralyzed you but wasn't real, all of it pulling your focus away from what actually matters: your goals, your growth, your peace. Acting like nothing bothers you doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care so much about your life, your mission, your future, that you refuse to be distracted. You rise above the noise instead of getting buried in it. And here's the truth most people miss: when you act as if nothing bothers you, you become untouchable. Not because you're pretending, but because you're choosing. You're choosing what's worth your attention. You're choosing your response. You're choosing not to let small things steal big moments. That choice, that's where the transformation starts. Because once you stop reacting, you start controlling. You start building momentum. You stop living in the emotions of the moment, and you start building the life you actually want. So, if you've ever felt overwhelmed, misunderstood, disrespected, or doubted, this is your reminder. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to react. You don't have to prove anything. All you have to do is stay still, stay focused, stay grounded. Because while everyone else is shouting, panicking, falling apart, you'll be the calm in the chaos. You'll be the one they look at and wonder, how does nothing seem to bother them? Keep watching, because by the end of this video, you'll learn how to build that kind of peace, that quiet strength, that mindset that doesn't flinch. You'll learn how to act as if nothing bothers you, and mean it, not just for today, but for life. When you stop giving your reactions to every small thing, something incredible happens. Your mind clears, your breathing slows, and for the first time you see the world without the fog of emotion distorting your vision. That's where your true power begins. Because in the stillness, you're not avoiding life, you're mastering it. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you take back your clarity, and with clarity you gain control. Not just over your reactions, but over your decisions, your direction, and your destiny. Every time you choose not to react, you give yourself space. Space to think, space to process, space to choose wisely instead of instinctively. Most people live trapped in a constant state of emotional reaction. They're triggered by comments, controlled by criticism, slaves to circumstances. But when you act unbothered, you disconnect from that trap. You stop feeding the chaos. And in that space, you unlock calm. Not the kind that sits idle, but the kind that sharpens you. The kind that makes your next move deliberate, not desperate. Because here's the truth. Emotions are powerful, but they're not always right. The mind that reacts out of anger rarely chooses the best words. The heart that moves from fear rarely chooses the right path. But when you hold yourself steady, when you breathe, when you pause, when you act as if nothing touches you, you see things others miss. You hear things others are too loud to hear. You stay focused while they get distracted. You move forward while they spiral. This isn't about being fake. It's about being focused. It's about choosing your energy wisely. Not every fight deserves your fire. Not every word deserves your answer. Not every storm deserves your panic. When you act calm, you save your strength for what truly matters, and that strength builds. It compounds. It grows deeper with every moment you choose not to be pulled into drama, noise, or doubt. Think of what you could accomplish if you didn't waste your energy defending yourself, proving yourself, explaining yourself. If you use that energy to build, to grow, to rise. That's what emotional stillness gives you, your power back. And the more you claim that power, the more unshakable you become. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't fold. It means your emotions don't own you. You own them. Every moment of silence becomes a moment of strength. Every pause becomes a decision point. Every time you act as if nothing bothers you, you're not pretending. You're practicing. You're rewiring your mind to rise instead of react. You're building something most people never have, unbreakable inner peace. And once you have that, there is nothing, no insult, no failure, no storm, that can take it from you. You are the calm. You are the control. You are the one they can't shake. And the more you live that truth, the more unstoppable you become. Keep going. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you create a ripple effect around you. The energy you carry shapes the energy others feel. When you walk into a room unbothered, steady, and confident, people sense it instantly. They feel safer, more at ease, more willing to listen. That's the invisible power of emotional gravity, the silent pull you have when nothing shakes you. You become the center point. You become the one others look to when everything feels out of control. And you earn respect not by demanding it, but by embodying it. Because people trust what doesn't waver. They follow what doesn't flinch. Choosing to act as if nothing bothers you isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about channeling them. It's transforming frustration into focus, turning anger into fuel, molding fear into resolve. When you choose not to show every emotion on your face or let every storm reach your heart, you conserve your energy. You save it for the goals that truly matter. You keep your eyes on the horizon instead of getting lost in the waves. And that choice creates stability, a calm foundation that lets you build higher, dream bigger, and lead stronger. Think of the power in knowing that no matter what comes your way, you will stand tall. That every challenge, every criticism, every unexpected obstacle will only strengthen your resolve, not shake it. That kind of presence is magnetic. It draws people in. It makes them believe in you. It makes them want to follow you. Because deep down, everyone is searching for certainty in a world that feels unpredictable. And when you act unbothered, you become that certainty. You become proof that peace is possible even in chaos. You don't need to announce your strength. You don't need to explain your calm. You simply live it, and the world takes notice. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. What once felt like an act becomes who you are. What once took effort becomes effortless. And the storms that used to rattle you start to feel small, powerless, insignificant. You find yourself rising above situations that used to hold you back. You find your focus sharper, your mind clearer, your steps more intentional. Every time you choose calm, you remind yourself that you are in control. You remind yourself that your peace is your responsibility, and no one can take it without your permission. You remind yourself that acting as if nothing bothers you isn't pretending. It's a declaration. A commitment to yourself that you will not be moved by things that don't deserve your energy. That you will not waste your life reacting to things that don't define your worth or your future. Stand firm in that calm. Own that strength. Let your stillness speak louder than any words, because when you radiate unshakable peace, you become a force the world cannot ignore. And from that place of power, there is nothing you cannot achieve. Keep holding your ground. Every time you remain calm, you're teaching the world how to treat you. People test boundaries, not out of cruelty but curiosity. They want to know where your edge is. They want to see what gets to you. And the moment you react, the moment you break that calm, they know exactly where your power ends. But when you stay composed, when you don't flinch, don't chase approval, don't defend yourself, you send a message without saying a word. I am not easily moved. I am not someone you can shake. And that silent message changes everything. Respect begins where emotional control starts. The less you react, the more they observe. The more you stay grounded, the more they measure their words around you. Not because you intimidate them, but because you've built an energy that commands attention. You've created an unspoken boundary, one that says, I know who I am, and I won't be pulled into games, drama, or small thinking. That boundary doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be aggressive. It's the quiet power of someone who has mastered their space, their presence, their emotional world. Most people are reactive because they believe silence means weakness. But silence isn't submission. It's strategy. It's self-respect. It's choosing not to waste your breath proving something you already know. It's choosing not to argue with noise. Because your value doesn't rise or fall with someone's opinion. Your strength doesn't increase by proving someone wrong. The more you hold your energy, the more you elevate above the noise. You no longer live to be understood. You live to be aligned. When you act unbothered, you build distance between your worth and their opinions. You separate your identity from their judgments. And in that space you build freedom. You stop needing validation. You stop fearing rejection. You stop shrinking to fit what others expect. You grow into your power, fully, unapologetically. And that growth scares people who haven't found their own. but it also inspires those who are searching for it. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You're not here to chase peace through pleasing. You're here to stand in your truth, even when it's misunderstood, even when it's challenged, even when it's lonely. Because the person who doesn't need to explain themselves is the person who has already accepted themselves. And that is rare. That is powerful. That is the kind of energy that leads silently and impacts deeply. You don't rise by reacting. You rise by deciding what's worth your time, your words, your attention. And when you make calm your default, the world begins to rise to your level. It stops testing your limits and starts respecting your standards. Because you've shown, through action, not words, that nothing outside of you controls what's within you. Keep walking with that quiet strength. Keep choosing silence over reaction. Because with every unshaken step, you redefine what it means to be powerful. The way you carry yourself teaches others what you allow. When you remain composed even in pressure, you show that your peace is not negotiable, that your mood doesn't shift with someone's tone, that your worth doesn't rise or fall with someone's opinion. You show that you are not waiting for the world to be calm before you choose to be, and that choice builds authority, not the kind that demands power, the kind that radiates it. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you're not hiding weakness. You're revealing strength most people never learn to access. This is not about bottling up emotion. It's about leading it, directing it, using it instead of being used by it. You don't have to respond to disrespect with defense. You don't have to meet chaos with chaos. You can meet it with control. You can meet it with presence. Because when you choose to hold your center, everything changes. The situation may stay the same, but you don't. And that internal shift is where transformation begins. That's where real strength is built. Not when everything goes your way, but when it doesn't, and you still choose calm. The power of not reacting is misunderstood. People confuse it with weakness, but silence is a weapon. Stillness is a position of power. It's the posture of someone who refuses to give energy to things beneath their purpose. You don't owe anyone your reaction. You don't owe every situation your explanation. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself progress. And every time you act as if nothing bothers you, you protect that peace. You protect that progress. You protect your future from being stolen by temporary emotions. Every reaction you give away is a moment you could have used to build, to grow, to lead. Think about how many opportunities are lost to anger. How much time is wasted on proving yourself to people who are never listening. How much energy is burned defending a version of you that doesn't even exist anymore. When you act unbothered, you stop feeding what drains you. You start fueling what strengthens you. You rise above the emotional noise and you find clarity, the kind that gives direction, power, and purpose. You're not here to be emotionally available to everything. You're here to move with intention, to protect your focus, to stay rooted in who you are, even when the world tries to pull you out of alignment. The stronger your emotional discipline, the deeper your impact. And the more you train yourself to act calm, the more natural it becomes. Until one day, it's not just an act, it's who you are. Unbothered, grounded, free. This is how you take back your power. Not through reaction, but through refusal. Refusal to let small things own your energy. Refusal to let temporary noise distract permanent vision. Stay calm. Stay above. Because every time you do, you rise. And every time you rise, you get closer to who you were always meant to be. When you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you reclaim the one thing the world constantly tries to take from you: your control. Not control over others, but control over yourself, over your emotions, over your focus, over your energy. That's where your power lives. Not in your ability to shout louder, but in your ability to stay quiet when everything around you screams for a reaction. Not in winning arguments, but in walking away with your peace intact. Not in proving your strength, but in knowing you don't need to. This level of composure doesn't come from pretending. It comes from a deep decision, a decision that your life, your purpose, your energy are too important to be scattered across things that don't matter. Every time you act like nothing bothers you, you're reminding yourself what truly deserves your energy and what doesn't. You're drawing a clear line between reaction and intention. And every time you choose intention, you grow stronger, clearer, sharper. Most people live as if their emotions are facts. They let anger speak for them. They let frustration steer their decisions. They let fear shape their future. But you don't have to live like that. You are not your reaction. You are not your temporary emotion. You are the awareness behind it. You are the decision maker. And every time you hold back from reacting, you gain something powerful: space. Space to breathe, space to observe, space to choose a better path than the one emotion would have taken you down. This isn't about detachment. This is about discipline, emotional discipline. The kind that doesn't suppress your feelings but channels them. The kind that knows where to pour fire. Into your goals, not your arguments. Into your growth, not your frustration. Into your next move, not your next outburst. Because when you act as if nothing bothers you, you're not running from emotion, you're mastering it. You can't control what people say. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can control how you carry yourself through it. You can decide that your inner world will not be shaped by the outer noise. You can decide that your energy is too sacred to waste on every offense, every opinion, every storm. That's the power of calm. It shields your purpose. It protects your momentum. It keeps you moving forward when everyone else is distracted by the little things. Every time you choose not to react, you become more than who you were yesterday. You become more focused, more present, more untouchable. And that becomes your edge. Not loud, not aggressive, but calm, clear, consistent. People notice. Opportunities notice. Life starts opening up in ways it never could when you were stuck in reaction. So keep standing tall. Keep breathing deep. Keep acting as if nothing bothers you, not because nothing does, but because you've chosen to rise above what used to hold you down. That is your freedom. That is your power. And it's only just beginning. Confidence isn't built in noise. It's built in silence, in the moments where you feel something rising inside you, but you choose not to act on it. When you want to explain yourself, but don't. When you want to defend your name, but stay focused instead. When the world is pushing every button you have, and you still refuse to hand over your peace. That's when real confidence is forged. Not in what you say, but in what you no longer need to say. Not in how loudly you stand, but in how quietly you refuse to fall. The strongest people don't chase approval. They don't need recognition to feel valuable. They've built something deeper. An inner belief that doesn't rise and fall with opinions. A self-respect that doesn't crumble under pressure. A mindset that's immune to outside noise. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you're not lying to yourself. You're telling the world, I know who I am, and I'm not available for anything less than alignment. You're declaring that your attention is expensive, your peace is priority, and your reaction is earned, not given freely. This discipline doesn't always feel good. It's not about comfort. It's about control. It's about keeping your energy clean. Because every time you react emotionally to things beneath you, you weaken your presence. You invite chaos into spaces where peace should live. You lower your frequency to meet something that should have never had access to you in the first place. But when you stay still, even when you're tested, you show yourself something far more powerful than control. You show yourself evolution. You are not here to match the energy of the world. You are here to set it, to lead it, to hold it. The more you build your inner calm, the less you need the outer world to cooperate. And that's freedom. That's what most people never find. The ability to stay steady regardless of conditions. The ability to move forward whether supported or doubted. The ability to lead yourself when no one else is showing the way. Let others talk. Let others panic. Let others waste their power trying to shake yours. You've outgrown the need to be reactive. You've outgrown the version of you that needed to prove everything. You've stepped into something new, something rare. Quiet strength, steady focus, unbreakable peace. It's not easy, but it's real. And every time you hold that line, you reinforce who you've become. You're not acting for the world. You're building yourself. You're protecting your mission. You're choosing your response. And that choice, repeated every single day, rewires your identity. You stop being someone who's triggered by pressure and become someone who thrives under it. Calm becomes your armor. Focus becomes your fuel. Strength becomes your silence. And nothing, no doubt, no disrespect, no delay, can touch the power you've built within. Keep walking like nothing bothers you. Because that's exactly how your power grows. There's a shift that happens when you stop letting the world control your emotions. The weight of what used to bother you suddenly feels lighter. The things that used to steal your sleep no longer deserve your thoughts. You realize how much of your life was spent reacting to things that didn't build you, didn't serve you, didn't deserve you. And in that moment of clarity, you begin to choose differently. You begin to protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Every time you act as if nothing bothers you, you're choosing to protect your energy from being drained by what no longer matters. Your emotions are powerful tools, but they were never meant to be your masters. They were never meant to steer your direction or dictate your identity. You were born to lead them, not obey them. And when you master that relationship, everything changes. You begin to move through life with more grace, more sharpness, more control. You stop chasing peace from the outside and start building it from the inside. And when peace becomes your foundation, nothing can knock you off course. People may misunderstand you. Life may challenge you. but your core stays unshaken. It's not that you don't feel anymore. It's that you've learned not to let every feeling speak. You've learned to pause before responding. You've learned to stay grounded when triggered. And that discipline frees you from being controlled by every opinion, every delay, every unexpected moment. It gives you space to breathe when others suffocate in chaos. It gives you vision when others are blinded by emotion. You become someone who moves with intention, not because life is easy, but because you've decided to rise anyway. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you're not pretending you're unaffected. You're reminding yourself that some things just aren't worth it. You're training your nervous system to stay steady when the pressure rises. You're building the capacity to carry peace into any situation. That is not denial. That is emotional maturity. That is leadership, starting with the self. Because how you lead yourself in stress is how you lead your life in success. There's no reward in being the loudest voice in the room. The reward comes when you become the most centered, the one who doesn't overreact, the one who doesn't chase conflict, the one who knows that sometimes silence is the loudest response, sometimes walking away is the strongest move, sometimes not reacting is the most powerful decision you can make. It shows you're no longer controlled by what's temporary. You've committed to something higher, your vision, your values, your inner peace. This is how you rise, not with noise, not with struggle, but with presence, with clarity, with emotional discipline. You stop giving everything access to your energy. You stop apologizing for your calm. You own your stillness, you protect it, because you've earned it, and now, nothing, and no one, can take it from you. The less you react, the more you notice. The noise clears, the emotions settle, and what's left is clarity, the kind that can only exist when you stop letting every external event dictate your internal world. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you create space between what happens and how you respond. In that space you gain control. And with that control you gain power, the kind of power that makes you unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger. Your strength isn't shown in how loud you get when tested. It's shown in how still you remain when everything around you is loud. The world throws challenges, people throw shade, circumstances throw distractions. And every time you respond with calm, you make a statement. I am not here to fight for attention. I am here to move with purpose. That kind of focus makes you dangerous in the best way, not hostile, not reactive, just deeply grounded. And when you're grounded, you can't be moved by what doesn't deserve to reach you. Emotional discipline is a skill, and like any skill, it gets sharper with practice. Every time you hold your tongue when provoked, every time you choose peace over proving a point, you're training your mind to value strength over ego. You're breaking the cycle of overreaction that keeps most people stuck in patterns of stress, regret, and emotional exhaustion. That cycle ends the moment you decide your energy is too expensive to waste on the unnecessary. You were not made to be ruled by impulse. You were made to rise above it, to see things clearly, to respond with wisdom, not just emotion. When you can be calm in the chaos, you stop being controlled by it. And that shift changes everything. You stop chasing outcomes. You stop needing validation. You begin leading yourself with purpose and clarity. And that kind of leadership is what separates the average from the exceptional. It's easy to react. It takes nothing to lose your temper, to defend your pride, to match the noise with more noise. But to stay still, to remain composed when you have every reason to explode, that's rare. That's real power. Because it shows you're no longer controlled by the moment. You've mastered it. And mastery is what moves you forward when others get stuck. Let others argue. Let others panic. Let others drain their energy trying to be heard. You've chosen a different path, one built on focus, one built on strength, one built on the discipline of silence. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you're not giving in. You're rising above. You're choosing peace, not weakness. You're protecting your growth, not avoiding the world. This is how you gain the edge. Not through aggression, but through presence. Not through force, but through focus. You've already come too far to be shaken by things behind you. Keep moving forward. Calm, unbothered, unstoppable. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. You don't have to invite chaos into your life just because it knocks loud. The more you grow, the more selective you must become with your energy. Not everything deserves a response. Not every voice deserves your attention. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are choosing to protect the most valuable resource you have, your focus. That is where your life is built. That is where your power multiplies. Anything that threatens it is too expensive to entertain. The world will test you. It will send criticism, distraction, disrespect, and delays. But every test is an invitation to rise, to evolve, to lead. The ones who succeed long-term are not the ones who fight every battle. They are the ones who choose which battles are even worth fighting. They protect their energy like it's gold. They understand that success is not built on noise. It's built on stillness, clarity, and movement that is rooted, not rushed. When you stop reacting, you start observing. You start seeing people's true intentions. You stop getting fooled by emotion and start being guided by intuition. You no longer move based on what others expect. You move based on what you know serves your purpose. That kind of emotional control is magnetic. It draws respect without asking for it. It demands space without raising its voice, because people sense strength, not in the volume of your words, but in the calm behind them. There is something powerful about being unaffected, not cold, not numb, just aware. Aware of who you are, aware of what you're here to do, aware that not everything deserves a seat at your table. You no longer have to react to prove your value. You no longer have to argue to keep your dignity. The more calm you become, the more the world adjusts to your energy. People either rise to meet your peace, or they fall away. Either way, you win. You were never meant to be easily shaken. You were meant to carry depth, direction, and determination. But to walk in that fully, you have to stop handing your power to every moment that triggers your ego. You have to stop giving weight to words that were meant to distract you. Not everything needs closure. Not everything needs attention. Sometimes your silence is the answer. Sometimes walking away is the win. Sometimes rising above is the real strength. So you hold your ground, you breathe, you remember who you are and what you're here to do, and you don't let the noise pull you away from your path. Because every time you act as if nothing bothers you, you reclaim your freedom. You become the one who moves different, the one who chooses strength over noise, the one who shows the world that the deepest power doesn't need to shout. It simply doesn't move. Keep that peace, guard it, walk in it. That's how you become unstoppable. Acting as if nothing bothers you is not about pretending you're above pain. It's about proving to yourself that you're no longer controlled by it. You've felt disappointment. You've heard doubt. You've stood in moments that tried to crush you, but you didn't break. You didn't fold. And that matters. Every time you choose composure over chaos, you are rewriting your story. You are becoming someone who leads, not just lives. Someone who builds, not just reacts. Someone who rises, no matter what tries to pull them down. The people who move the farthest in life are not the ones who always feel confident. They're the ones who act with discipline when confidence fades. They stay calm when it would be easier to collapse. They stay grounded when emotion tries to sweep them away, because they've learned that feelings are temporary, but their mission is not. They don't waste time fighting every critic, chasing every rumor, proving every point. They know that the moment you need to be understood by everyone, you've already lost yourself. There is power in being misunderstood, power in being doubted, power in facing resistance without needing to resist back. It sharpens you. It forces you inward. It teaches you that your peace can't be dependent on anything external. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are not ignoring the weight. You are refusing to carry what doesn't belong to you. You are refusing to rent out space in your mind to people who haven't earned the right to be there. That is strength. That is ownership. And when you walk in ownership, you stop explaining your silence. You stop defending your calm. You stop seeking applause for being steady when others would have exploded. Because now you know that silence speaks, presence speaks, stillness speaks. It says, I am not afraid of your storm. I've been through worse. I've seen chaos. I've walked through fire. And I'm still here, still standing, still focused. That kind of power doesn't need to prove itself. It just is. You don't need everyone to understand your calm. You need to understand it. You need to know what it's protecting. Your peace, your energy, your clarity, your future. The version of you that reacts to everything, that version is done, that version is tired, that version was surviving. But now, you're rising. Now you're walking with presence. Now you're in control. So let the noise exist. Let the critics talk. Let the distractions come. You don't need to meet them at their level. You're already operating from a higher one rooted in discipline, one built through storms, one that refuses to be shaken just to feel seen. Keep acting like nothing bothers you. Because nothing that costs your peace is worth your power, and nothing that threatens your focus deserves your fire. Keep rising, keep steady. That silence you've built, it's not weakness, it's your edge. Power is not proven in how loud you are. It's proven in how still you can stay when everything around you tries to shake you. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are not avoiding the world, you are commanding yourself. You're showing up to your life with discipline, not emotion. You're choosing alignment over reaction. That is where real growth lives. That is where the shift happens. When you stop giving every opinion, every setback, every delay a place in your heart, you start reclaiming all the energy you used to waste. And now, you use it to build. You don't need to fight for your worth. It's already within you. You don't need to prove your value through noise or drama. You prove it by your ability to remain grounded when everything calls you to collapse. Emotional maturity isn't just about staying calm. It's about recognizing what matters and letting go of what doesn't. It's about understanding that your peace is more powerful than your pride. The strongest people are not those who feel nothing. They're the ones who feel everything and still choose not to be moved by it. When you train yourself to pause instead of explode, to breathe instead of react, to observe instead of attack, you become untouchable. The world loses its grip on you. The petty things that once triggered you no longer hold weight. The chaos that used to pull you under becomes background noise. And that's when your focus sharpens. That's when your pace quickens. That's when your future becomes clearer. Because now, nothing owns your energy unless you allow it. And that freedom, that self-control, is a game changer. You are not here to be emotionally available to everything. You are here to protect what you're building, to master your mind, to guard your purpose. Every time you stay calm in the storm, you train your brain to rise above old patterns. You train your nervous system to remain still in the face of stress. You break the habits that kept you stuck. You shift from reacting to everything to mastering yourself in everything. That is how you build the life you want, not through noise, through control. The most dangerous version of you is not the one who fights every insult. It's the one who keeps moving while others are busy provoking. It's the one who smiles when criticized, the one who remains silent when challenged, the one who keeps building when others expect you to break. That version is not numb, it's aware of your vision, aware of your worth, aware that time is too precious to waste on reactions. So you keep your eyes on what matters. You let the noise pass, you let the drama die on its own, and you move forward, calm, clear, powerful. Because when nothing bothers you, nothing stops you. It takes incredible strength to stay calm in a world that profits from your panic. Every day something is trying to pull your focus, drama, distraction, disappointment. But you weren't built to be pulled in every direction. You were built to move with purpose, to wake up and decide that your energy is yours, that your response is your power, that your mind is not a playground for chaos. When you act as if nothing bothers you, you are not pretending. You are training your mind to protect your peace, training your spirit to rise above what doesn't deserve your reaction. You're not cold for not engaging. You're wise. You're not weak for being quiet. You're in control. People confuse calm with apathy, but it's the opposite. Calm requires intention. It demands discipline. It's the quiet decision to protect your future instead of feeding your ego. Your silence isn't empty. It's full of wisdom. It's full of restraint. And restraint is one of the highest forms of power. When you can see chaos, feel anger, sense injustice, and still choose clarity, you've already won. You are not here to carry every opinion. You are not here to entertain every critic. You are not here to waste your voice trying to explain your peace to people committed to misunderstanding it. Your job is not to prove yourself. Your job is to stay aligned, stay clear, stay focused. That's what scares the world. Someone who can't be provoked, someone who can't be moved off purpose. The more you grow, the less reactive you must become. Because growth makes you aware of the cost. And the cost of reaction is too high when your dreams are on the line. Every time you let go of needing to control how others see you, you get stronger. Every time you release the need to respond to noise, you gain power. Not everything deserves your words. Not every situation requires your energy. Sometimes the greatest move is no move. Just keep walking. Just keep building. Let your results speak where your emotions used to. Let your peace answer where your pride used to rise. That's how you win without shouting. That's how you conquer without conflict. You've given too much time to things that didn't matter. You've let too many things live rent-free in your mind. But not anymore. Now, you know. Now, you see clearly. Now, you act from power, not pain. You're learning to be still, not because you're numb, but because you're focused. You're learning that your energy is sacred, and your response is a weapon. When you hold it back, not out of fear, but out of strength, you rise. And every time you rise without rage, you build a life that's bigger than every distraction trying to break you. This is your new edge, unshakable, disciplined, unstoppable. Every time you refuse to react, you rise above the level of the problem. You stop feeding the things that feed off your attention. You stop watering weeds with your energy. The moment you choose not to engage in conflict, you choose your peace. You choose your future. Because peace isn't just a feeling, it's a decision. It's an act of courage. In a world that wants you triggered, distracted, and emotionally drained, calm is a rebellion. Your stillness is not weakness. It's evidence of your growth. It proves you've stopped dancing for approval and started standing for your purpose. The truth is, you're not obligated to absorb everything thrown at you. Not every glare, not every rumor, not every doubt deserves to enter your system. You can witness chaos and choose stillness. You can feel pressure and still remain grounded. That's strength. That's what separates the reactive from the resilient. The world respects those who move in silence, but build in discipline. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's intention. It's the space where your mind sharpens, your clarity returns, and your purpose becomes unshakable. You're no longer explaining yourself. You're showing yourself. Through results, consistency, and control. You have to guard your inner world like your future depends on it, because it does. Everything you allow inside begins to shape how you think, how you move, and what you believe you deserve. So you must ask yourself daily, is this thought helping me grow, or is it keeping me stuck? Is this argument worth my time, or is it stealing my energy? When you learn to filter what enters your mind, you take control of your reality. You stop being a victim of your emotions, and start being the architect of your mindset. This is where transformation happens, not in loud reactions, but in quiet choices. The choice to breathe instead of break. The choice to pause instead of panic. The choice to walk away instead of engage in drama. That's how you reclaim your power, moment by moment. Not through control of others, but through control of yourself. Because the most powerful person in any room is the one who refuses to be emotionally hijacked. They don't need to win arguments. They don't need to prove points. They already won by staying focused. You've come too far to let noise break your focus now. You've grown too strong to be dragged into distractions. Your silence isn't avoidance, it's alignment. You're not ignoring the world. You're prioritizing your path. You're not running away from conflict. You're running toward peace. And every time you do that, you train your brain to choose clarity over chaos. You build mental armor. You sharpen emotional discipline. And you begin to live from power instead of pain. This is your moment. This is your edge. The world may try to shake you, but you're rooted. You're calm. You're unmoved. And in that stillness, you become unstoppable. When you no longer allow the outside world to dictate your inner state, you become dangerous, in the best way. Because nothing is more threatening to chaos than someone who cannot be shaken. You stop reacting, and you start directing. You don't match energy anymore, you set the tone. You don't get pulled into emotional traps, you walk above them. That's when your life starts to shift. Not because the world changes, but because you've changed. Your nervous system no longer dances for every insult. Your heart no longer flinches at every opinion. You've decided to protect your peace as if your purpose depends on it, because it does. People will notice. They'll try to test it. They'll wonder why you don't flinch, why you don't chase, why you don't defend. Let them wonder. The truth is, you've learned a deeper truth. Your energy is currency. You don't give it to every sale, every noise, every emotional discount. You spend it wisely, because your goals are expensive. You pour it where it grows, not where it leaks. That's wisdom, that's power. You're no longer here to win petty battles. You're here to win the war within yourself. The war between reaction and reason, chaos and clarity, fear and focus. And it doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything, and still choose peace. Stillness is not numbness. It's mastery. It's the ability to hold your power without proving it. It's the inner knowing that you don't have to perform to feel strong. You don't have to be loud to be in control. The loudest minds often scream to cover their fear, but the calm ones, they've already wrestled their demons. They've already seen the storm. Now they walk through fire with their eyes open and their hearts grounded. When you train your mind to pause instead of panic, you build a weapon. When you no longer need to argue, validate, or control, you win. The world is full of distractions, people trying to provoke you, pull you, shake you. But you're no longer bait. You're no longer easy to rattle. You've realized the cost of peace is discipline, and discipline is what transforms your mind from fragile to focused, from restless to ready, from reactive to resilient. And now, every breath becomes a choice. Every thought becomes a decision. Every moment becomes a test of whether you'll return to your old triggers or rise into your higher self. And each time you stay calm, you rise. Each time you stay focused, you evolve. This is your practice now. Emotional strength, psychological clarity, mental endurance. Because your future doesn't belong to the loud, the reactive, or the easily swayed. It belongs to the focused, the grounded, the ones who walk through chaos with calm in their chest and fire in their eyes. That's you. Keep going. The moment you realize that calm is your superpower, everything starts to shift. You no longer measure your strength by how loud you are, how fast you react, or how deeply you retaliate. You measure it by your ability to hold steady when everything around you is trying to pull you off balance. You understand that control isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. It's about walking into chaos with a calm breath and clear eyes. It's about refusing to let the noise decide who you are. Because if the world can trigger you, it can control you. And if it can control you, it owns your peace. You are no longer available for that. You've come too far to lose yourself in petty emotions. You've fought through doubt, climbed through fear, and risen through self-doubt. So why would you trade that growth for a fleeting moment of anger? Why would you allow someone's chaos to shatter your inner clarity? The answer is simple. You don't. You stop explaining your silence. You stop defending your boundaries. You stop allowing people to rent space in your mind. Not because you don't care, but because you finally do. You care about your energy. You care about your mission. You care about becoming who you're meant to be. And that requires focus. Deep, unshakable focus. So you stop flinching. You stop apologizing for your calm. You stop shrinking to fit into people's expectations. The calm you carry is not weakness. It is the reward of work done in silence. It is the prize of inner war won without applause. You built it while no one was watching, while the world was busy judging, while others were giving in to the pressure. But not you. You chose patience. You chose peace. You chose to rise in private so you could lead in presence. That's power. And no one can take that from you, not unless you give it away. And yes, there will be moments when it feels easier to break, when your emotions rise like a storm and beg to be released. But you know better now. You know that every time you choose stillness, you train your mind to rise above the noise. You build a fortress inside your spirit that no insult, no lie, no chaos can enter. You don't suppress the fire, you channel it. You don't silence your emotions, you master them. That's the difference between surviving and evolving, between reacting and leading. Now every breath you take reminds you of your progress. Every pause before the storm is proof that you're not who you were. You've outgrown the need to be understood, validated, or approved. You no longer seek the world's permission to stand strong. You give it to yourself. That's how warriors are made, not in moments of glory, but in quiet decisions to remain unshaken. You are that warrior. Calm, grounded, unbreakable. Keep rising. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't need to prove itself. Real strength is silent, composed, and built in solitude. It doesn't scream for attention. It simply shows up. It shows up when you want to quit. It shows up when your confidence cracks and your doubt gets louder. It shows up when the path feels longer than your patience, and the results take longer than your hope. Real strength is doing what needs to be done, even when no one claps for you, especially then. Because that's where discipline is born, in the absence of applause, in the face of resistance, in the stillness of sacrifice. And you've been growing in that silence. You've been molding a version of yourself that most people won't understand. But you weren't made to be understood. You were made to rise. The world may never see the battles you fight behind closed doors, but those battles matter. They matter more than the ones you fight in front of people. Because those inner wars shape your character, your discipline, your mindset. When you choose consistency over comfort, when you choose growth over ease, you are planting seeds that eventually bloom into results so undeniable, even the world has to take notice. Not because you needed their validation, but because your transformation became too powerful to ignore. That's the reward of staying the course. That's the return on choosing purpose over pleasure. You won't always feel motivated, you won't always feel inspired, and you won't always feel like you're winning. But feelings are not facts, and success doesn't care how you feel. It responds to what you do. The results don't show up for the most emotional person, they show up for the most consistent one, the one who refuses to let excuses win, the one who works even when it's not easy, the one who shows up again and again and again. That's how breakthroughs happen, not with massive leaps, but with steady steps taken even when everything inside you says stop. There's a version of you that only discipline can unlock, a stronger, sharper, more focused version. But you don't meet that version by waiting for the perfect time. You meet that version by pushing through every imperfect moment. You meet them in sweat, in silence, in discomfort. You meet them when you've run out of motivation, and all you have left is a choice to keep going, or give up. And you choose to keep going. Because the fire inside you wasn't lit by accident. It was lit for a reason, a mission, a calling. Something bigger than fear, something stronger than excuses. You weren't built to stay stuck. You weren't made to blend in. You were created to lead, to build, to become. And every time you show up, even on the hardest days, you are proving to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you're not finished yet. You're just getting started. Keep showing up. Keep building. Keep becoming.